Hey y'all, hope you're having a fantastic start to the new year and the new decade of the 2020s. I just want to take a moment here and say that it may be the start of a new year and a new decade. However, in reality, it's just another day, and like any other day, we can strive to be more knowledgeable and better people. So, on that note, let's get into today's episode of Wait Really, the Samurai of Japan. Now, before we actually get started, let's take a moment here and go over exactly who the samurai were and what their purpose was in feudal Japan. And to discuss this, we got my friend Nate, who is actually at this moment in Japan and is very, very knowledgeable on the subject. So, take it away, fam.
Good evening, or good morning, or good afternoon, travelers of the world's peak. Today, I'm here to tell you a little bit about the history of the samurai and what their role was in ancient Japan. So, let's jump right into it. The samurai originated as regional warrior clans in the Heian period of ancient Japan. They were available for use by the emperor in order to exercise his military authority and to quell various uprisings and rebellions throughout the country. The samurai, as you know them, were proud warriors who fought for honor on the battlefield. They placed a great importance on bravery, loyalty to one's master, and an honorable death. To the samurai, to take one's own life through ritual suicide was favorable in the face of imminent defeat on the battlefield. They also followed an unspoken warrior code known as Bushido, which stressed these warrior values and behavior, and it led them to become basically the model of citizenship throughout ancient Japan. The samurai held control over the central government and reduced the emperor to a figurehead, with samurai general Minamoto no Yoritomo's takeover of the government following the defeat of the Taira clan at the Battle of Dan-no-Ura in 1185, where samurai clashed in a bloody naval battle. In the years following, Yoritomo would establish himself as the first shogun and mark the beginning of the Bakufu, which means tent government, in the form of the Kamakura shogunate. From there, the samurai would rule Japan for centuries. Throughout the Muromachi period and the Age of Warring States, samurai warriors and clans would clash on the battlefield in a series of bloody civil wars, until three samurai leaders, Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and Tokugawa Ieyasu, would accomplish unifying the country of Japan. Tokugawa Ieyasu would then go on to establish the Tokugawa shogunate in the beginning of the Edo period in 1603. During the Edo period, the samurai were reorganized entirely within the government. They were given status and power to govern small villages, but had to report to their respective regional daimyo, or feudal lords. They lived in these lords' castle towns, and many samurai began to take on administrative duties rather than warrior duties. The Edo period is known for its long-lasting peace, and the age of honor on the battlefield was gone. Many samurai believed it was foolish to take on life of studies and office jobs, and many even lost the desire to fight, living comfortably within the new government. Eventually, the warrior rule over Japan would crumble with the arrival of the Western powers and the call for the return of the emperor. Violence ensued, and in 1868 the Bakufu fell. With the Meiji Restoration, the samurai were officially disbanded. That was a very quick and brief summary of the samurai's role in ancient Japan. I encourage you to learn more, and from there, I hand the torch back to you, Cameron.
In the 16th century, an African man came to Japan and in time would rise to become one of these samurais serving under the renowned feudal lord Oda Nobunaga, who helped to unify Japan. This man was known as Yasuke, and his arrival to Japan and his life there was mostly undocumented. However, it is known that his arrival caused quite a stir, mostly due to his different appearance, which caught the attention of Oda Nobunaga. His quick learning of the language of Japanese helped Yasuke rise quickly in the eyes of Oda Nobunaga, and he quickly became a friend. He was actually the first foreigner to obtain the status of samurai, and during his life would bear witness to many battles, including that of the fall of Oda Nobunaga. After this, there is not much known about Yasuke other than he was most probably exiled. The end of his life, alongside the majority of the details of his life, remain a mystery. So I think it's safe to say that most have heard of the form of ritualistic suicide utilized in ancient Japan known as seppuku, or sometimes known as harakiri. However, I don't think many really know what it actually entails, as it is a very painful and very drawn-out way to die. It starts with the person in question stabbing themselves in the left side of the abdomen and drawing the blade across to the right before turning it upwards. Then, if it is to be done properly, the person would stab themselves in the sternum and then draw the blade across the first cut. And if they still had the strength left, they would slit their own throat. As you can imagine, death would not be quick, and there was nothing to ease the pain. However, the samurai who either chose this or were allowed this option in place of a dishonorable death and execution, for them, it was far better than any alternative. It is well known that the katana was wielded by the samurai. However, they actually utilized many swords of varying lengths and for varying purposes. Most would always carry the katana and a slightly smaller blade, known as a wakizashi, used mainly for beheading defeated opponents and sometimes committing seppuku themselves. However, besides these, there were many other blades of varying other lengths, such as smaller blades like the tanto and the aikuchi. The aikuchi was often used for seppuku as well, and the main difference between the two short blades, the tanto and the aikuchi, was the tanto had a hilt and the aikuchi did not. Finally, the nodachi was a wickedly long blade, like a longer katana that was often wielded with two hands and could be compared to the claymores of medieval Europe. There are many other weapons used by the samurai, however these are the main blade types. So have you ever seen the movie The Last Samurai? If not, please stop the video, go watch it, because it's bloody brilliant and I love it. Anyways, did you know this movie was actually based off a true story of a real rebellion that happened in the year 1877? Reforms had just begun during this time to render the samurai class obsolete, and the country was beginning to modernize. Many disillusioned samurai formed the rebellion in the Satsuma region, wherein they were led by Saigo Takamori, who had been for years prior in opposition to the newly formed government of the Empire of Japan. In the end, this revolt, known as the Satsuma Rebellion, lasted from January to September of that year, 1877, with the government forces being equipped with modern weaponry and the rebellion forces wielding the traditional samurai arms and out-of-date firearms and artillery. The Imperial Army also greatly outnumbered the rebellion forces, and in the end, the rebels in the final battle were reduced to 40 samurai, including Saigo Takamori. In an act of defiance, these 40 samurai charged the Imperial lines. In the charge, Saigo was wounded, and it is said that another samurai, at his request, beheaded him so he could avoid a dishonorable death. Similar events are depicted, however fictionalized, in the film The Last Samurai, which is why I greatly recommend it. And if this interests you, you should really check it out. Alright, dang, so I hope y'all enjoyed all that info about the samurai. It's a lot of really interesting stuff, but as usual, we gotta get down to our random wait really of the day. And let's make this one a little bit more lighthearted as compared to the last couple facts, you know. Let's get into it. So President Eisenhower was actually the one who created the National Interstate System in the United States in the Federal Aid Highway Act of 1956. This act would create 41,000 miles of roads with the intention of eliminating unsafe roads, traffic jams, etc. Eisenhower was actually inspired by the Autobahn that he saw at the end of World War II during the invasion and occupation of Germany. The interstate system was also meant to be used as a defense mechanism so that in the event of an invasion, troops and civilians and supplies could be moved efficiently anywhere in the country. Alongside this, the interstates could be used as emergency landings for airplanes in the event of an emergency. It's important to keep in mind that this would have been during the middle of the Cold War between Russia and the USA, so the fear of attack was always imminent, which is why Eisenhower thought it was so important to create a national interstate system. Now you know. What up, y'all? Alright, so I hope y'all enjoyed this video. The samurai to me have always been a really, really interesting subject, and something that's fascinated me ever since I actually saw The Last Samurai for the first time when I was a kid. So if you enjoyed it, please leave a like, drop a comment, subscribe, and I mean there's a lot of information on the samurai, so it's always possible I can make a second part to this video covering more and more information. Also, if you liked my boy Nate there at the beginning with that intro on the samurai, drop a comment telling him his hair looks funny. Just kidding, I love you. So yeah, I hope y'all have a fantastic day, and I will catch you on the flip side.